Hi, I'm Melvin, and this is Love Letter Podcast. Hello, hi. What's up, y'all? How y'all doing? Yeah, I know. Okay, so let's just dive right in because this is like a special a special episode. We'll call it. I'm naming it like a note before proceeding. So we can kind of level set again because, like I mentioned in probably every episode, all of this is brand new, which is fine. But yeah. So we'll just dive into it. So if you know me, if you've met me, especially in like the last 2 years, I am very enthusiastic. If I can help it, if my energy is clear, then I'm going to show up very enthusiastic about life. And I think I brought that enthusiasm and still am to this podcast. And so what I mean by that is that I came out the gate swinging. I said, I'm giving y'all 2 episodes a week. I'm giving y'all 2 episodes a week. The class, the lecture, and then the practicum, the lab. It's not that I just think that is unsustainable. Like literally nobody who has ever had a podcast tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Babe." But not only is it unsustainable ish, but as I'm preparing these episodes and outlining this stuff, it's a lot of information to digest. And even though I hope that the post-statement episodes are lighter, more practical, I think from recording the first couple, that is still a lot of information there too. So I'm working on that. Like, I have never been good at conciseness. Like, I think because I'm reading a lot, consuming a lot, observing a lot, and I care so much that it's just naturally going to be chock full of stuff. And I think I'd rather, we'll see as we go, err on the side of giving you just a teeny tiny bit too much than giving you a teeny tiny bit too little and leaving you with questions unanswered. And the reason why this exists, the reason why I am being bold enough, courageous enough to put any portion of my business out in the world is so that we can all relax enough into easily being ourselves and quickly being able to see and feel immediately what's not ours. And that's the whole thing. Jobs, relationships, somebody's projection, somebody's lies, what people are naming us, how people are limiting us. That's the goal. One of them, because at this point, it's kind of like Uncle Clifford. We are at like 99 goals. But I also always intended for this to be like a multimodal offering. So not just ranting, but also pointing towards books that I love or that have been helpful or that have kind of torn the veil between what I think life is or my life is and what it can be and what it actually is. And so that includes like book resources. That includes things that help people who don't only learn, through listening. And I ain't cutting that out either. Through listening, and because I know for me, it's kind of hypocritical. Well, kind of. But I'm not listening to a ton of podcasts these days, partly because I don't want to sit still and I want to listen to Renaissance. But I don't just want to listen. I want to be pointed towards resources to kind of do my own self-study. And I think that's how I've lived my life, in that, I can take what they give me, taking the meat and leaving the bones. I can take what they give me, put it together with this other stuff, and then kind of see what comes together. So I don't typically need people to sit down and teach me something. I learn a lot from people's examples, for better and worse, from their examples and for what they make available to me. And so I can go through my own process with the stuff that they're offering. So it's giving equal parts source and equal parts channel. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, and to provide resources, I think I have a lot of plans for our communities, for our relationships, and I don't think, because I've done it, I don't think just saying, hey, you need to listen to this podcast is always the I don't want to say the best answer, but that's not always going to move people. But if I say, our relationships are frayed because of this. This is what I consulted, or this is how I learned and how I saw that more clearly. Even if someone doesn't listen to the resource that you did, you now have the competence to be able to model some of the stuff that we're hoping to one day experience and live. And so the goal is more healthy communities, relationships that work, all of that stuff. And also I want to be able to engage. Like, I think we are all seeing our relationships with social media kind of morph and look different than they did when we began. And I think that's for the best, because I think given that a lot of these institutions and corporations are actually broke, that now they are collecting more information, they're using it more. I'll talk about this next week, but I want you to scroll your Instagram and look at the ratio between content that you actually chose to follow or engage with and ads. Moving on. So episodes are still going to come out weekly. This week, I mean, I'm giving you an episode, but this is whatever. It's still going to come out weekly, but I'm thinking that I will, and we'll keep doing this and try this because this is the first for all of us. And process, like I said in every episode, hints, is super important to me. Because I also want you to start your own creative projects, or to breathe new life back into them, and to feel and have modeled for you, I don't feel like you're doing it this week. And not on any flippant, oh, these people aren't expecting something from me, but I'm not a Tesla. And I've already given out much too much free promo this episode anyway. And I ain't even doing this stuff for money. But whatever. Anyway. But I think 1 week is going to be heavy on the content. Lighten it up where I can. Doing my own work prior to the episode so it doesn't bring you down. And then a week where it's like more practical, a little bit more playful. So a contemplation week and an integration week. And so contemplation, I'm making you aware of something. I'll talk about this next week, but I don't want y'all to take a ton of notes. Because if anything that I've taken a lot of notes with, I have delayed doing because it's so much. And baby, it's about to be a fire hydrant of information. And I'm more concerned with what sticks to you than what you can kind of repeat from an episode to anyone. I'm also less concerned with you taking what we discussed and like sharing it with people for them to change. I just want the things that are meant for you to hear and to kind of connect with, shift you, move you, influence you in some way, and then you just kind of like model that in your daily life. And so the contemplation week is just like, oh, this is something interesting to kind of think about and mull over. And then around that Thursday, sometime during that week, maybe around the same time, we'll see, because I haven't had the opportunity to do it yet, resources that aren't just like listening and like, oh, what was that timestamp, or where was that we talked about? So if I'm talking about play, maybe I upload a list, that's free promo or whatever, a list of apps or ways that you can go about meeting people that do the same thing that you do, or are interested in the same things. And then an integration week where it's more so about, okay, these are the ways in which you can just kind of like start living this stuff. So next week we'll be talking about curiosity and how we get to be more curious about our lives. Okay, what does that look like in practice? I think I've always learned from my sister, I'm super heady, I'm super cerebral, I'm always thinking, I'm always pondering things, and she'll immediately take it out to the field and study it. And like, okay, this works, that doesn't work, this was spot on, that kind of thing. And so a week where I'm zooming us out, giving us that 30,000 foot view, and then bringing us back down to our local neighborhood and seeing, okay, well, what do I do with that now? So even if you don't understand, resonate, like a lot of the stuff that happens during a contemplation week, during the integration week, you can like, oh, okay, I'll just take and try that on and see how that feels. Because that's the ultimate goal, is for people to feel more. Because all of these environments, not all, a lot of these environments, a lot of these societies are doing things that are eliciting a lot of reactions and more reaction than responses, reactions from us. But then we're also taught not to feel. So just imagine how much stuff we've suppressed. Just imagine how much stuff is beneath the surface. We should always, always, always be thinking about ourselves as icebergs. But that's not what this episode is about. This is a note before proceeding. So again, think of me as equal parts source information, because some of this stuff is original. A whole lot of it is, I won't say it's regurgitated. I'm not like going on the internet and like looking for stuff to say. But also equal parts channel. So some of this stuff is like coming from my own experience. A lot of it is just like synthesizing a lot of what I've read, studied, learned, and experienced in the workplace. And to be very, very clear, despite this pivot and like this being new, I have a very specific number of topics that I intend for us to kind of discuss and go over. And I have very clear outcomes that I'm aiming at. I am prepared for this. I live for this shit. I think the energetic dynamics of living in this world, being brave enough to navigate this stuff and then saying it in a way that is concise, that is not cutting, that is not just 45 minutes of me cussing about capitalism and family systems. Like, I don't want to fake, and I don't want to come over here like, oh, hi, everything's great. But I also don't want y'all to meet me at all this shit is terrible and it. Sorry, I apologize for how you may have responded to that. I meant what I said. And I got whatever. And I want to have fun too. I said that 2 episodes a week is unsustainable-ish, because if I wanted to, I could do it, but I wouldn't be able to go outside and go at my own pace. I wouldn't be able to slow down, because I'm not doing this for money. That's not my aim here. Anyway, I really want this to be clear. I want this to be useful. And I don't want to be misleading to say if there are partnerships that make sense that I wouldn't look for sponsorship, because if I don't have to worry about what's happening next, then I can be focused on this stuff. But we are over marketed. Oh my gosh. All of these ads, I don't understand how there is this very intentional strategy of separating people from resources and their ability to choose what they do with their lives, and then you ramping up productions on ads and marketing for the people that don't. It is one of those reasons why I spend so much time preparing before episodes, because I don't want to go into that cycle of seeing everything wrong and missing the roses that exist for me to stop and smell them, that exist as reminders that not everything is bad. And I want to have fun too. That's it. But whenever I look at the state of the world and our societies, how all this stuff is running, it takes everything in me not to come in here in fury. I think I may have mentioned in an episode, or maybe with a friend, that the feeling of excitement is easy for me to access because it's probably my favorite emotion. I can just kind of like conjure that up, like, oh, I'm excited. But fury is also very easy for me to access, because if you look, the odds are stacked against you, and you are not meant to win. The 3 or 1% or whatever, they are not looking for new entrants. We hear and we see all the time, like, oh, she's new money. She's new money. She works in tech. Like, it can seem, because of everything observable, that everything is spiraling downward. And somehow to cope, and I'm watching this every day when I'm sitting and drinking my coffee, it's like, to cope, we are all just keeping our heads down, Googling side hustles, and praying for better days. We are trying to weather all of these storms because we've been taught this rugged individualism. We don't know how to resolve conflict. We struggle to build new relationships. We don't trust anybody, and somehow we're going to manifest the lives that we dream. I just want to see how does this play out? Do we widen the wealth gap, and then we move the rich people out west or up north, and then the poor people east and south? How does this, the very thing that you need, the very thing that you struggle with, someone has ease doing and has to offer you. That's just that on that. And it's like, it's fine. But you don't gain more power and agency by doing more, by getting a second job. And I get it. I don't come over here with the resources. It's big cap energy over here. I'm watching all of these things, but you don't gain more power and agency that way. You don't gain more power and more agency by getting a promotion and now you can lord over everybody else the power that you just received. That is tenuous at best. You gain more power by increasing your clarity on why you're here. Be that earth, be it that job, that relationship, that neighborhood. You know when somebody is clear about what they're doing, they have an ease, a clarity about them. It's like, okay, whatever. That's that, and I'm going to worry about me. But I need us to be more purposeful. I need to be more purposeful, and I need to be more intentional. Because nearly everything else in our lives are. Like Google marketing and like shelving in stores. Not only do they pay for those spots, but because they know that people of a certain height can only see on certain levels, that's how things get. It's fine. It's fine. It's all fine. It's all fine. And that's a word to Joe. But the research from various folks around everything and from various decades states that people, especially in work, typically only want three things, or three things are a priority for them. And that is autonomy, so the ability to be able to choose when and how I do anything. Work from home. Competence, that comes from being good at stuff and being able to develop, so getting put on projects or being able to do the work that makes your soul come alive. Sorry, I got into that tone again. Sorry. And relatedness, so how we relate to each other in community in our relationships. If my relationship needs are met, if my ability and my need to be able to decide for myself, hey, self-determination, and my ability to develop a skill, to develop myself such that I can trust that in any market, in any storm, I'll be okay. That's what we're aiming at. That's what we want so much. And so, as a junior psychologist, because licensing and all that stuff, to see folks rise to the outsized pandemic expectations, get no hazard pay, no superhero pay, no additional you made it pay, and now we require you to come back into an office, even though you got the work done and we hear you saying life is easier for you and more manageable as it stands. That shit pisses me off. In the 80s, they thinned out that middle management. I think it's time that the top get a little trim too. But I have digressed. But like I keep saying, we're going to build this thing because I don't have all these answers yet. I won't say that I'm good at all these things, but in starting this podcast and anything in my life, I want to become worthy of the thing that I'm doing as I'm doing it. I don't want to spend all this time trying to be perfect to then show up. It's kind of like taking a stretch assignment. I'll figure it out on the way. I'll do the cleanup work on the way. I'll do the mirror work on the way. I'll do the shadow work on the way to make sure that I'm clear. But we are going to build this thing, especially if you cooperate and work with me. We're going to do this together, and we're going to do this right. So if we have to pivot in 3 weeks, so be it. If we have to pivot in 6, so be it. I am much less concerned about output than I am quality. Sorry. So if you're on Insta, follow Love Letter Podcast. Subscribe so you can know when or if we pivot again. And let me have your email on the website so I can email you sometimes. But like I said, I have a plan for this entire season. And full disclosure, here's the thing. I like finished things. Like my stomach will be roaring like the 20s. Not these 20s. Roaring like the 20s. And it's like, okay, well, let me finish this real quick. So my aim, honestly, was to give y'all these specific topics, finish at a specific date, and say, all right, God, universe designed the whole thing. All right, God, I made it available. I'm finished. I can move on to the next thing, the money generating activities. But that's not true to me, and that's not fair to y'all. So we'll do this right. We'll take our time, and I'll make sure that we are keeping pace with each other. So this season, we're diving into the brain and nervous system. And I may have said this, but the brain and nervous system, our friendships. I think a lot of what we didn't get in our family systems and our communities is sitting right with us in our communities, in our friendships and relationships, and our close relationships just a couple feet beneath the surface. Like you would be, or maybe you wouldn't, you would be surprised. So all of us have interests. All of us have dived into new things that we find inspiring and stuff. And you'd be surprised how many of those things we don't share with other people who also feel the same things. And then we're just like, oh, my friendships is just lackluster. So our friendships, our parents, naming yourself, because people love to throw out labels on other people. More time in the mirror. And all the rights and privileges that come with those topics. So that's where we are. And take this stuff seriously. Like, I love myself, yes, but I don't think so highly of myself to think that I'm the end all be all. But I know I'm somebody's answer prayer with this stuff because I was perfectly fine reading and learning this stuff myself. So take this stuff seriously. Get a notebook. Get a folder. I'm not going to keep repeating myself. And also, how am I supposed to know? Nobody has told me that you have. And I just record these episodes and hope for the best. But let's have some fun. Let's heal a bit. Let's become ourselves. And y'all, fuck the bull. I love y'all. Go enjoy this weekend. And I'll talk to y'all on Monday. Bye.